Now I want to talk to you about something really exciting about PowerPoint, and that's the use of transitions to move from one slide to another, or the use of animations, which is the use of effects that are used on individual slides that make text appear with special effects. So let's look at how this is done. If I want to have a transition move from this slide to the next slide, it'll look something like this. There, I've just transitioned to the next slide, and I just happen to duplicate the slide so it's exactly like the last slide that we looked at. So I'm going to end my presentation here, and we can take a look at how this presentation was, or this section of slides was put together. You can see that I'm currently on slide 9, but I really started here on slide 8. Starting here on the Transitions tab, you can see that we have a number of effects that are already showing, so I have cut, fade from one slide to another, and if I simply click on one, it'll sort of show us the quick preview of what that's going to look like. So this would be a fade to this slide from the previous slide, as you saw the little chart appear. So there are 4 or 5, no, there's like 9 transitions that are shown here, but of course if I look at the gallery, then I can simply see other ones. These transitions are divided into two groups, subtle and exciting. So I could have a soft cover from one to another, or I can choose a dissolve, which is a little more exciting, or the checkerboard, which is also exciting too. So there's lots of fun you can have with having transitions that move from one slide to another. Now there are also a number of option effects that I can choose from left or from right, and that's usually different, of course, when I choose an option or I choose one of the transitions, and then I can take a look at the effect options. I can also notice on the right-hand side that there are some changes I can make. I could advance the slide on the mouse click, or I can even time slides to move from one to the other using a certain amount of time. So you could actually time your presentations if you're very good at timing how well you speak and can always speak at the same speed. And you can always specify a slide to appear on the screen for a certain amount of time. So that's a little bit of a look at transitions. Now if I want to take a look at animations, I can click on the Animations tab, and you can see that on this slide that I have the numbers 1, 2, 3 appear. And this is the order in which each of my items is going to appear on the screen. So if I click on one of the items, this means that animation number 3 is going to be the fly-in animation, and I click on it once and you can see that it flies in from the bottom. And I can choose the options to fly in from left, which is also kind of special. And I can add different types of animation by choosing an effect to add to the selected objects. And we see that I have not only entrance type animations, which is how objects appear on the slide, but I have also emphasis animations, and that allows an object that's already there to be shown to have some sort of emphasis or show you that it's important. And I can actually have items disappear off the screen by using an exit animation. And there are lots of options here, so there are more exit effects, more entrance effects, more emphasis effects, and even motion paths, where you would have, and you can actually see that if I scroll down the gallery here, where you can actually have objects move around in very unusual ways on the slide. Now you want to be very careful with transitions. You want to make sure you're not using too many transitions and not too many animations in your presentation, because they can become distracting. So never use more than 1 or 2 types of transitions at most in your slides. It is okay if you're going to choose transitions from one slide to the next and do that with every slide, but always use the same transition. And also with animations, don't have everything on every slide appear as an animation, because eventually it will start to get boring and it will lose its effect for your viewer. So always keep things simple when using transitions and animations. This just scratches the surface. There's even a timeline effect that you can use once you develop more skill in working with transitions and animations. So we've spent quite a bit of time working on this presentation. Let's go back to the Home tab and start our presentation from the very beginning. Actually, it's better to go from the Slideshow tab and from beginning. So there's our title slide, there's our koala, the jellyfish, and some extra slides that we had inserted. Always take time to make sure that you've actually looked at this part of the presentation. We do have some information here that'll help you create a very good and very impactful presentation. So make sure you know the audience, make sure you have enough time available, think about handouts and make sure you have a backup, and make sure that you take time when you're giving a presentation to do a quick run through. And you should always try and practice in the room that you're going to be using the equipment. Practice on the equipment and try and practice in the room that you're giving the presentation in. So we inserted some charts. We added some transitions, and we looked at animations, and even more transitions, and the same animations. But here are some design considerations to keep in mind. Always keep your presentation simple. Don't overdo the graphics, don't overdo the transitions, don't overdo the animations, and don't overdo crazy fonts and colors. So reduce the number of fonts to maybe 2 at the most for headings and body text. Remember the 7x7 rule, that's no more than 7 bullets on a single slide. And of course, take a look at the difference between serif and sans serif fonts and where each of those types of fonts is best used.